Thank you. And it's good to see so many of you here. I kind of hesitate to say Happy New Year on the 20th of January. We're quite a long way into the new year, but nevertheless, great to see everybody here. And I'm really looking forward to learning a lot over the course of this event about what's going on in all the various areas. But what I wanted to start by doing was just giving you a bit of an update about the implementation of the research strategy, and then we can also touch on the new research centres, the new research groups, research institutes, before we hand over to the detailed sessions from each of the new research centre leads. So I think it's clear to everybody that we're working in challenging times, and that's not just COVID-19, but also the impacts of Brexit. And not only challenging times, but within complex contexts. Now, this diagram is taken from the UKRI corporate plan, but I think it could just as easily apply to us. So you can see in this diagram where academia and universities sit, but you could put us right bang in the centre, as UKRI have done for themselves, surrounded by researchers, postdocs, policymakers, investors, funders, local communities, management, administrative, technical support, and many, many others. And what we certainly need to do, and I think we are doing, is to continue to use those levers at our disposal to support a diverse portfolio of outstanding research and innovation, and to support the people and the infrastructure which is needed to deliver on that. Now, I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the implementation of Brunel's research strategy over the last, say, 12 to 18 months. And clearly through the last 12 months, or getting on for the last 12 months, we've had to do this with sensitivity and cognizant of the COVID-19 pressures on staff, but nevertheless not put it to one side completely. And I think hopefully over the course of this session, you'll see the breadth and depth of things that have continued to take place over the period. So what does the strategy aim to do? Well, it aims to create a research ecosystem that will allow us to drive both discovery and link research, innovation, education and engagement, and provide an inclusive research structure that's both shared leadership, disciplinary and interdisciplinary research. And importantly, I think, is to take a challenge-led approach. So focusing on the 5 strategic challenge areas that we've identified, and these are aligned with industrial and global societal challenges, by which I mean aligned with external funding and partnership opportunities, with our own strengths, potential growth areas, and where we can make a significant impact. We aim to build on our strong foundations of disciplinary research, drive up quality, and support research-led teaching, and also our employer-engaged education as well. And it's through these approaches that we'll promote our world-class interdisciplinary research and innovation in partnership with others locally, nationally and internationally, and provide the ingredients for high impact growth, which will be needed to meet our ambitious targets and capitalise on the funding opportunities that we have. Now, we aim to deliver a 10% year-on-year growth in research volume, not immediately. So in this financial year, our target is a 5% growth, but then 10% thereafter, and very much to embed those principles of equality, diversity and inclusion with high levels of research integrity and guided by the principles of open research. Now, coming back to our 5 strategic challenge areas, these are interdisciplinary, or if you like, thematic, and all the way through the consultation and the strategy development, we've been using interdisciplinary very much as a shorthand to encompass broader definitions of multidisciplinarity, transdisciplinarity, and so on. The areas are aligned with our internal strengths, external priorities and funding opportunities. So that includes Global Challenge Research Funds, the Industrial Strategy, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and of course now COVID-19 recovery. And you'll be familiar with the 5 strategic challenge areas, I imagine, but their short form titles are digital, communities, health, sustainability, manufacturing. And there's overlap between these 5 areas. So for example, all 5 might contribute to mitigating the impacts of climate change, just as an example. And our research institutes are key to all of this. And what they're tasked with is facilitating and driving challenge-led interdisciplinary research across the universities and across these 5 strategic challenge areas, promoting high impact growth and drawing on academic expertise from across the university and co-creating with our external commercialisation partners from the start. And we'll come back to say some more about the research institutes later, and we'll hear from the directors themselves as well. One of the things that we've been focusing on quite a lot over the last few months, as many of you will be aware, has been working on clarity and consistency of our research activity, and that includes our research services support, research roles and research entities. Now what this diagram is intended to show is how things join up. So it shows a university-wide integrating framework for research, linking the activity which is physically located in research groups and research centres at departmental and college level with the university's strategic challenge-led research priorities. And the priority challenges that you can see listed here provide a more granular description of the challenges we're addressing within those 5 strategic challenge areas. The research institutes will facilitate and support individual groups and centres to succeed with challenge-led interdisciplinary research. And each institute has a clear purpose and role in helping to deliver that. So what we've got here is a representation of what we've been busy doing, as you'll know, a coordinated bottom-up process across the university, which I think has really acted as a constructive stimulus for consultation on agreeing what our stated strengths and capabilities are, and identifying our starting range of departmental research groups, some of which are newly approved and some others of which are continuing, so existed previously. And we've got 14 newly approved research centres, which we'll be hearing much more about later in the day. So the 14 new ones are the ones that are bolder in blue here, and the grey research centres in the list are those that were already existing and are continuing. And of course, in addition to those research centres listed under each of the colleges, we have BCAST as well. So moving on to the next slide, what we've got here is a representation of our research institutes. For those of you who've been at Brunel for longer than a year or so, will know that we've had 3 research institutes for a number of years, and those are the 3 starting from the right-hand side of this slide. So the Institute of Materials and Manufacturing, the Institute of Energy Futures, and then we did have the Institute of Environment, Health and Societies, which we very recently have repositioned and renamed as the Institute of Health, Medicine and Environments, and have appointed a new director, a sort of founding director of this repositioned institute, Professor Christina Victor, who started in that role just at the beginning of January, so very, very new. And then if you flip over to the left-hand side of the slide, you've got the Institute of Digital Futures, which was approved last year, had its formal launch at the beginning of December. And we have the founding director there, Professor Abdul Sadka, and we'll be hearing from those 4 research institute directors later in this programme today. Now, the 5th research institute, the Institute of Communities and Society, has just been approved all the way through to council, and we're in the process of recruiting the founding director of that institute, which I hope will be pretty imminent. And what you can see is the broad alignment between those 5 research institutes and our 5 strategic challenge areas, clearly with some overlap and some areas where we would want more than one research institute to come together to facilitate some research activity. But I think this gives us a good foundation for dealing with the challenges that we will wish to do so in the future. So I've got a couple of slides here that summarise some, and it's only a sample of the many other things that we have been doing as part of the implementation of the research strategy over the past few months. I'm not going to read through every line item, but maybe just pick out a few things for us to look at. So they're categorised under a number of headings. If we think about our people, so our doctoral researchers, our early career researchers, and our academic staff, and we've done a number of things, including refocusing the graduate school as a hub supporting doctoral and postdoctoral researchers, and training for those staff who have roles relating to those doctoral and early career researchers. We've introduced a postgraduate research forum that reports through to the University Education Committee. We've revised our academic promotions criteria to support research fellows. We've moved independent research fellows, or in the process of doing so, onto academic contracts. And we've got some new processes in place to make sure that our research priorities are strongly reflected in the appointments process of new academic staff. And there's a range of other things there as well. Moving on to research support and infrastructure, a lot of work has gone into enhancing our research services support, including the implementation of a post-award team within RSDO and an interdisciplinary research team, and working in alignment with the college research offices to make sure that we've got a pipeline support service from start to finish. We have already and are in the process of continuing to make significant investments in our research capital and infrastructure. So at the moment, there's an open call directed through our research centre directors for proposals to use our research capital infrastructure funding for this year to make sure that we're strategically investing in our research capabilities. We have developed an annual university-wide research festival, which I'll say a little bit more at the end of my presentation about the plans for that for the coming year. In other areas, in partnerships and profile, we have a Royal Society entrepreneur in residence at the moment, which is supporting our innovation and commercialisation activities. We have a flagship open innovation project, and the next thing which is in development is the Brunel Fellowship Academy, which is a feature of the research strategy. On research communications, we've got significant work redesigning, redeveloping our website so that it captures all of our new research centres, our research groups, our research institutes. It really presents the full picture of our research activity to the external world, but also helpful internally as well to ensure that the university as a whole, some of whom might not have research as their top priority, has a full picture of what we're engaging in. So we're creating all of those web pages, and also we're reviewing how staff profiles are presented so that individually people can really understand what the areas of interest and expertise of our staff are. We've also done some work around our KPIs and making sure that we're internationally benchmarked internationally benchmarked against our comparators. So coming towards the end, we were planning to have our first research festival at Easter in 2020, and then that was one of the victims of COVID. But what we are now doing is planning for an online research festival in May. I don't think the date has been firmly fixed yet. And what we're planning to do is to focus the festival around our 5 strategic challenge areas. Give some thought to this. I mean, as soon as the date is settled, then we'll get that out so you can save the date in your diary. But also, if anyone has any ideas about additional online activities that you think would be helpful while we're all in lockdown and in our diverse locations, then please do email the research engagement team. You can see the email address at the bottom of this slide with any ideas that you might have. And here's one idea that's just come forward in the last few days. It's Brunel Cup of Science. So the idea of coming together informally over a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or whatever it is you want to put in your cup, to discuss informally in lay terms that non-specialists will be able to understand particular areas of research activity to share with our colleagues. I think there's evidence that this kind of activity can lead to all sorts of unexpected collaborations, discussions, and constructive discussions. So this is something that we're aiming to launch in mid-February. So there'll be more news on this coming shortly. So I think that is all I wanted to say at this stage. I think I might be slightly ahead of schedule, but that's probably no bad thing because we've got quite a dense programme coming forward. Unless someone stops me, I'm going to introduce our first research centre lead to describe her research centre, and this is Professor Nija Hashim Zadeh, and it's the Research Centre for Law, Economics and Finance. So if I stop sharing my screen, I should be able to hand over to Nija.
Thank you, Rebecca. Am I supposed to put up my own slide, or is Thomas doing this?
I'm doing that.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you very much. So our research center is the result of collaborative efforts of the law school and the Department of Economics and Finance. And of course, we are open to other colleagues from CBAS and other schools and departments in the university. We bring together experts across several disciplines to do research and understand on how the interactions between individuals, communities, businesses, and institutions shape the socioeconomic outcomes and what can be done to improve these outcomes. Why we bring these various disciplines together is because we want to explore complementarities and overlaps in our expertise and research tools where we develop new concepts, new models, and practices, and the wider societal impact between these disciplines of economics, finance, and legal scholarships. And of course, we're open to other researchers in other social sciences. Broadly, we can define the field of our study as the economic underpinnings of institutions and regulations. So essentially, we aim to answer the question how scarce resources are allocated and how they should be allocated. So we focus on how these concepts and tools can evolve and change and broaden their meaning when they're approached by different disciplines. So on the one hand, how economic theories and models can inform and transform legal thoughts, and on the other hand, how the law and institutions and regulation in the society affect the economic outcomes, and how can this be formally modeled and analyzed, and what policy implications can be drawn from that. So our research is over 3 broad research topics that you can see on the slide. So it's economics of financial regulation, economic analysis of law, and the law and economics on public finance. So just to give you examples of the projects, because the themes are actually much broader than they look at the first sight. So for example, under economics of financial regulations, we study sustainable economic development and financial inclusion, and stability, transparency, and accountability on the financial markets, assets governance and compliance in the corporate and banking sectors. So these are just examples. Under economic analysis of law, the examples of our research projects are the role of economic efficiency and incentives in the legal system, infringement and enforcement of property rights in the digital age, discrimination, the criminal justice system, violence and conflict resolution. And under the law and economics of public finance, the examples of our research projects are environmental taxes and sustainable development, optimal taxation in a digital economy, tax compliance, tax avoidance, and tax evasion. So as you can see, this is quite a broad range of topics, and I didn't mention all of them. These are just examples. So do come to our inaugural workshop at 2 o'clock, and you will learn more about what we do. So we plan, in addition to the joint research, we plan collaboration in research-led teaching, both on the undergraduate and postgraduate level, supervision of the postgraduate students. We also plan community outreach activities. So hopefully when the restrictions on the social interactions will be lifted, we can do more of that. But otherwise, this is all I wanted to say for now. And I welcome you to learn more about our planned and ongoing work at our 2 o'clock session. Thank you very much.
My name is Professor Gareth Taylor. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm the director of the BIPS Research Centre, and I'm also the head of departments of electronic and electrical engineering within the College of Engineering, Design and Physical Sciences. So I'd like to take this opportunity, thank you for attending. I'll take this opportunity now to give you a little bit of background to the research centre that I'm the director of. It was originally established at Brunel in 1991. So power systems research, which is the main focus of our research centre, has been active at Brunel for quite some time now. It was originally established by Professor Sir Michael Stirling and Professor Malcolm Irving, and they joined Brunel from the University of Durham at the time. And that was a strategic move by Brunel. At that time, Durham had the leading national and international research group in power systems, and they were relocated to Brunel, and that helped then establish Brunel as a leader in the field. More recently, we started to look more at interdisciplinary power systems research, and the rationale for that is that conventionally power systems were designed predominantly based on capacity. So the demand for electrical power, demand for electrical energy was continually increasing, and the electrical power systems had to be designed and built to make sure that they could meet that growing demand. But as you will know now, we're seeing very different requirements. We're now moving from conventional fuels for electrical power, moving away from conventional fossil fuels like coal and gas towards renewables. And that presents significant challenges going forward. The benefit with the conventional fuels like coal and gas is they could easily be stored. They provided flexibility in the generation. The challenges with renewables is that they are intermittent. They're dependent, for example, wind and solar, on the prevalent weather conditions. So that means there's real challenges in future electrical power systems. We have to provide greater flexibility across the systems as a whole, so not just on the generation side. The power systems research activities are also very well aligned with the existing research structure within Brunel University. So they've particularly well aligned with the Institute of Energy Futures, which has been mentioned earlier. And also within the Institute of Energy Futures, we did have, and was very well established, was a smart power networks theme, which again, I was the theme leader of, and was very well aligned with the power systems research activities at the department level, and now our activities as a research centre. And basically that was looking at developing these so-called smart grids or smarter grids. And that's moving away from grids based purely on capacity to grids that are more flexible, that can be designed and built to enable the integration of renewables, decarbonize the electrical power supply, and then enable us to meet our targets in terms of lowering CO2 emissions to combat climate change, which is one of the grand challenges, one of the global challenges at present. At the moment, we have a very healthy membership. The majority of our members are from EEE, from electronical electrical engineering. So we have 8 members, myself included. We have a number of professors, lecturers, and senior lecturers. They have expertise in different disciplines within EEE. So it's not just electrical engineering, but it's control engineering, also high performance computing and other areas. Obviously, there's key expertise in power systems and also power electronics, which is a key area which I'll talk about again later. We also have members from other departments across the college, and that's happened more recently, and that's part of our move to become more interdisciplinary. So particularly from computer science and also from mathematics, which fits with the work we do in terms of optimization and also the data science aspects of smart grids as well. We also have a healthy number of researchers. We have 4 research fellows at present, and we have over 25 doctoral researchers. In the future, we are looking to establish ourselves more interdisciplinary. So we were looking at working not just across the college, but across the university as a whole, and other subject areas that we'd be looking to interdisciplinary activities could include areas such as economics, regulation, law, etc., which are important aspects of electrical power systems and energy supply generally going forward. So just to summarize, the key expertise that we have and the areas that we work in is electrical power transmission and distribution systems. So this is the methods that are used to supply electrical power both across a national level and even now at a pan-European level, right down to an urban area. Also, power electronics and power quality. Power electronics is one of the fastest growing areas of technology, and it's often cited as one of the key areas for development and innovation going forward. Power electronics is very important in terms of integrating renewables, because it enables what we call power conversion from DC to AC, because most of the renewables naturally provide DC current, but then they have to be distributed over AC systems, power systems, alternating current power systems. You may be aware that most of your power at the moment you get at your home and on site today at Brunel is through an AC power system. We're also looking at DC transmission and distribution, and again that's driven by the integration of renewables. Particularly with regards to DC distribution, you have a lot of devices now, demand devices, which use DC power. We also have a lot of photovoltaics, domestic level, which generate DC power as well. And this leads then to what we call generally the digitalization of future power systems. And this fits nicely also with some of our other institutes, such as Digital Futures. We're moving away from analog systems to much more digitalized systems, both at the substation level in terms of electrical power systems, the domestic level, the home level, and even the way the economics, the market arrangements, they're all on digital platforms. And again, this all helps to integrate renewable energy and develop renewable energy systems, and thereby leading to the decarbonisation of electrical power systems. And it's the smart grid technologies which really help that, and a lot of them dependent upon novel ICT infrastructure, information and communications technology infrastructure. Also, another key aspect is energy economics and power markets. So we have, as we've changed the industry, it's become more restructured. It's been restructured, become more privatized. Then we've moved away from the monopolies, the monolithic arrangements, state-owned arrangements, to more competitive arrangements, more competitive market arrangements, both wholesale, retail, and also at a pan-European level, and across countries as well. And the energy union will be critical to security of supply in the UK and the GB system going forward. So even when we have the the position we're in, where we're leaving the European Union, it's been made clear that we can't really afford to leave the energy union. And also, in terms of any economics and power markets, another key aspect is local area markets. There's going to be developments more that it makes a lot more sense to manage supply and demand and enable markets at a local area, regional area level as well. I mean, that will be alongside the markets, the wholesale markets at a more national, international level as well. And another key area that we're developing now is power system informatics and communications, and that fits with the data science, and that's the key aspects of smart grid technologies going forward. So we have these experts already, but we're obviously looking to build the expertise as well through more members, and that will be from different departments, not just our own. So that summarizes most of our activity, and if you do need any more information, please feel free to contact me directly. I do have a recording of this presentation as well. I'll make that available on the BIPS web pages. We have our own web pages, and those can be found if you go to the departmental web pages, look under our research activities, and you'll find the BIPS Research Centre web pages. And again, if you do want to find out a bit more, we've got our meeting this afternoon. You're welcome to join that meeting, and again, that will be recorded, and you can play it back when convenient. So thanks again for giving me the opportunity, and I'll hand over now to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Gary. Good morning, everybody. Although I've been at Brunel now for about 16 months, I know I haven't had a chance to meet everybody. I'm Trevor Hoy. My main job is as Vice Provost for International and Academic Partnerships. Although by background, I'm a geoscientist with expertise in river hydraulics, and hence I'm now Director of the Centre for Flood Risk and Resilience. The centre is not entirely a new centre in that it did exist previously with a goal of providing CPD and other training to professionals in the water industry. We have now established it as a research centre aiming to build on research which takes place in the university, largely in Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, but actually also in several other departments, and indeed is cross-college in scope. Why do we have a Centre for Flood Risk and Resilience? Flooding is a major issue. The headline figure there, 1.4 billion people exposed to significant flood risk from rivers and sea level rise, and exceptional things such as dam bursts as well. And climate change is causing that number to rise, and the map that's on the right there, all the blue areas are places where floods are predicted to become more frequent in the next 80 years through to the end of the century, and the red areas less frequent. You can see that a large part of the globe is forecast to have increased flooding in the next 80 years. And if you were to overlay that with the map of population, you would see where that 1.4 billion figure comes from. So flooding is an important issue. It's an issue that, okay, in the last 12 months, we've all been thinking about other things, but it hasn't gone away. In the UK, there are still people who were flooded out of their homes last February, still living in caravans, partly because the pandemic has stopped recovery from those floods. So these issues are really important. They won't go away. And flood risk and resilience is very much interdisciplinary in scope. And one of the things we want to do with the new centre is to make sure that we are reaching across the university into areas in social science, areas of health, areas of education, areas of communication, and bringing people together with complementary expertise to try to address the flood risk side, the mechanics of flood risk, the rainfall, the hydraulics, the engineering solutions, but also the resilience aspect. How does society organise itself to adapt to mitigate flooding, to cope when the extreme events do occur? And how does recovery from those extreme events occur? And crucially, of course, how we plan for the change in risk in future. Because the centre has existed in the past, as I say, from a training and education perspective, We do already have strong connections into government agencies. We have a partnership with the Environment Agency to deliver training on behalf of them. We work with quite a lot of businesses, with consulting engineers, contracting engineers. We work with a range of third sector organisations, mainly in the UK, but also internationally. Quite a lot of our current research is international, and we aim to build that international research portfolio. And because of the nature of the problems that we're looking at, in recent years, a lot of the funding opportunities have been international funding opportunities, and links into Newton Fund, GCRF, etc., have been extremely valuable for people in the centre in terms of getting funding to support their research. Now, there are some threats to some of those funding streams at the moment, but the flooding is a major issue, and its link into other issues of health, of food security, and are not going to go away. And therefore, I think we can confidently predict that there will still be funding in these areas. It may be different from in the past, but I think there are still going to be opportunities. The colourful diagram at the top right there, it gives you an indication of the sorts of things we hope to achieve through the centre, which, because of the history, are not entirely research. We are interested in research and development, in flood resilience, but we also, in that, you can see there's quite a lot of mention in there about our undergraduate and master's programmes, and the links between our research and teaching. The current contract we have with the Environment Agency, which allows us to train a lot of their staff, I think create a lot of opportunities for us to deliver research which actually is meeting societal needs. And I think as the UK government agenda for rebuilding post-COVID and their levelling up agenda and so on go forward, I think our connections with government and non-government organisations are going to be extremely important in how Brunel is able to take forward some of our research plans. And I think we're in a very strong position to build research in these areas, and I'm sure that there are links between this centre and several of the other centres that we're going to hear about in the next hour or so. I shall leave it there and pass over to, I think it's Hua who's coming next.
Yeah, so I'll introduce myself first. My name is Hua Zhao. I will be the director of the Center for Advanced Poverty and the Fields. For those who do not know me, I've been at Brunel for over 25 years, and the research on advanced poverty and the fields have gone back, I think, for 30 years. In the center, we have several academic staff, Professor Lionel Ganiper, Professor Thanos Margaritis, and Dr. Jun Xia, who is our specialist in CFD, and Dr. Wang Xinyan Wang. He has been awarded the most prestigious UKRI Future Leaders Research Fellowship, and also Dr. Zahir Dahushi. He's our expert on fuel cell technologies, and Dr. Mahmoud Ushman. He's a Marie Curie Independent Research Fellow. So our vision is to be the internationally leading research center on low and zero carbon engines and their fuels for transport and power generations. So our research covers all types of engines, not only for cars, but for trucks, for generators and marine applications, and even for the future flying cars. We have been working on gasoline and diesel engines in the past. We have started working on low carbon fuels, such as biomethane, biopropane, and bioethanol. And we've got a very large grant as part of Dr. Xinyan Wang's Future Leadership Fellowship to work on the use of hydrogen together with the current infrastructure in the form of nano-bubble hydrogens. So we will work on the hydrogen for trucks and marine and future airplane applications. Our research facility, I would say, probably is the best in the country. We have over £4 million state-of-the-art research equipment on engines and also laser diagnostics for flow and reactive flows. So if anybody who is interested in the measurement of flow and combustion and also plasma, we have the most comprehensive laser techniques. As you have just been shown, the 1.4 million UKRI Future Leadership Fellowship on nanofields. This will be discussed in the session after lunch break, so you will welcome to join our research center's presentation, where Dr. Xinyan Wang will give a detailed presentation on the very exciting fellowship. I think that's what I would like to say now. If you have any questions, please contact me by email, and you know my email address. And I look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Good morning, and my name is James Campbell. I'm here to present our new Centre for the Assessment of Structures and Materials under Extreme Conditions. Currently, this centre has 18 members drawn from across engineering, as well as maths and computer science. And this represents a long established and recognised strength that Brunel has in continuum and solid mechanics and the accompanying computational mathematics. In terms of the applications, two of the Brunel challenge areas that have been presented are particularly relevant. First being manufacturing, in terms of these are we're interested in tools that support established engineering analysis as well as virtual product development, and very importantly also supporting material innovation. One stage in the introduction of new materials is establishing analysis and design tools to allow them to be used safely and effectively. Introduction of new materials is also very relevant for sustainability, and a second area in that is lightweighting. Lightweighting is important in the transport sector, as a lighter vehicle uses less fuel, but also a lighter structure potentially requires less resources to build and manufacture, and all of these require suitable analysis tools. So the objective of the centre is research in developing and applying computational tools for the analysis of structures and materials. Based on the membership, we have particular focus on applications that are relevant to structural integrity, how we describe damage and failure in structures and materials. So this is both the causes of the damage and failure and the consequences of the damage and failure. Very much interested in extreme loads, so overload that can cause collapse, extreme loads from environmental conditions, high and low temperatures, which is also very relevant for manufacturing, because in manufacturing we are applying extreme loads, extreme temperatures to form the final components. And we also have applications in dynamic behavior, covering things from vibration, shock loading, through to the crash and impact response of structures. So we've identified 5 areas of specific interest to the centre. The first being the modelling of materials. How do we represent the material behaviour within the tools, and how do we develop this understanding of new materials to allow the new materials to be used? We have the underlying computational mathematics and how that is then implemented in practical design tools so that you are accurately solving the right problems. The third area, which is of very much increasing importance today, is understanding and treating the uncertainty and the variability inherent in the real world. We need to understand it and be able to account for it to design more effective, safe structures. Although I've been talking primarily about computational work, experimental investigation and characterization still remains fundamental to both development and application of these tools. And so we are continuing research in that area and use of these tools. And finally, we are looking at the applications to engineering problems, how to make sure that the tools can be applied effectively and usefully to engineering. So we hope we'll see at least many of you this afternoon for our inaugural meeting. I mean, if you're interested, please do come and join us. Equally, contact myself or any colleagues in the future, and we would hope to be able to build opportunities for collaboration in the future. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our presentation. I'll be talking about the Center for Energy Efficient and Sustainable Technologies. I'm Dasos Karayannis, I'm the director of the center. The vision of the center is to become an internationally leading center of excellence in fundamental and applied research in efficient and sustainable energy generation and utilization. So if you turn your attention to the right of the slide, you will see the triangle of energy, environment, and water. It is our personal belief, my personal belief, that these are three faces of the same problem. If we can solve the energy, we can help the environment. If we can solve the energy, we can also help the water. You can actually turn this triangle around if you put quality in the middle. Whatever you do for all three, you have influence for the other parts of what we would call quality of life. If you look at the bottom of the slide, you will see why this becomes even more important as we move forward. The highest energy consumer there is one of those countries where they are having their new president sworn to office today, and there is 34 times smaller consumers of energy. This is from countries that have very dense populations, and the UK is sitting in the middle of this. So as these countries begin to develop, the 34 times smaller begin to develop, the energy use per capita will begin to increase, and the problems of the environment, water, and energy will become more profound. So it was imperative for Brunel to establish an area of this research. We currently have 14 full-time academics, and we have 2 associate members. We are very fortunate to have 4 visiting professors, and they will be presenting their work this afternoon as well. The center currently has got 15 postdoctoral research assistants, and we have in our books about 40 PhD students. So sustainable energy systems for the future of the country and planet, we divide the work in 2 in the center. The first one is the efficient use of energy, and then with the efficiency of the use of energy, we also would like to increase the use of renewable energy. It is a very increasingly challenging area with significant impact. It is very competitive because it is covered in most engineering disciplines, in most universities. Therefore, lots of application for funding every time a new area a new call is available in this area. Therefore, in order for us to be successful, we thought we have to work together. We have to put our complementary expertise together, and we have to be using our resources efficiently. As I said, we currently cover most of engineering departments. We would like to work a bit more with design and mathematics. And of course, in all of this work, we will need science and humanities and social science colleagues. So please, if you would like to hear a bit more of what we do, please come to the afternoon session. We cover industries at a broad spectrum. The power generation, for example, is part of our work, the chemical manufacturing industries, transport, healthcare, where cooling of equipment and new equipment is necessary, and therefore research in that area would be needed. You will hear about heating and cooling work that we do. There is a relationship with other centers in food and beverage, and of course we cover work in paper, bulk, and printing. The center is quite successful. We have funding from EPSRC and the European Union to a large extent, but we also attract funding from Innovate UK, the Newton Fund, the British Council We recently had a success with the defense industry. Therefore, we would like to expand that area as well. The current funding is about 4.2 million in the center. We are now aiming, as I said, to expand our research to include other areas, so please come to the afternoon session. That's all I want to say for the time being. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Savastasu. I'm the director of the Center for Sustainable Energy Use in Food Chains, and I have been at Brunel for many, many years. Now, the Center for Sustainable Energy Use in Food Chains was established in 2013. That was a result of a successful bid to EPSRC, or the Research Councils UK, to establish 6 centres in the UK to address end-use energy demand reduction. And we led a bid with partnering the universities of Manchester and Birmingham to build on our previous work on in the food area. Now, the centre attracted £6 million from EPSRC and also significant fundings from the 3 partner universities, but also industry. And at Brunel, we use that funding and of course, significant funding provided by the university to establish unique facilities in recent years to support research not only in the food area, but also energy demand reduction in general. And we have dedicated facilities, and as you can see from the pictures in the slide, we have sort of CSEF has been around since 2013 and is expanding all the time. We are a small center in Brunel. The membership is quite small at the moment, 5 full-time academic staff and a number of associate staff. Some of the original founders have left the university since then, but despite the fact that we are small, we have been very, very successful in working in a number of areas within the food sector, but also more generally in energy demand reduction in industry and the built environment. So we are very, very strong in terms of income generation and engagement, external engagement. Our mission is to take a whole systems approach to energy demand reduction and greenhouse gas emissions reduction across the food chain, and work closely with stakeholders to deliver impact. And we engage significantly with industry, both in the UK, but also overseas to do that. I mentioned that we have substantial funding and track record from UKRI and the EU for the generation of knowledge and innovation in technologies and processes to deliver productive, decarbonized, and sustainable food chains globally. And because of our reputation that we have established over recent years, we have been recently partnering with the universities of Reading and on the food biosystems doctoral training program that began last year and is led by Reading University. And more recently this year, we are partners on the food systems doctoral training program that is led by the University of Greenwich and is the only program funded by UKRI as part of a bigger, much bigger program on food systems sustainability. Now, recently, or last week, we ran an event in the university to promote the food systems facility, and we had about 50 attendees. I mean, that demonstrates that there is quite a lot of interest in the university in the food systems area research from all the colleges. And we are aiming to capitalize on that and build on that by engaging more academic staff from across the university, both in the two doctoral training programs, but also in collaborative research programs with the sort of UKRI, both Innovate UK and EPSRC. So going forward, our plans are to increase membership, particularly from social sciences and business school, and we have some collaborations with the business school at the moment. We have collaborative programs, existing collaborative programs, but also we are working on applications, particularly on EU programs and GCRF. And also our aim is to enhance further our external profile and collaboration, and try to meet our challenging targets in terms of expansion, but also further income generation. So we are keeping very, very busy. We are not having a meeting this afternoon on the center because there are overlaps between the membership of 3 centers, and we are planning a formal meeting, launch meeting in February, and we'll send invitations to all of academic staff that participated in the event that we held last week. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Thank you.
Hi. So thanks, Sabas. So yeah, my name is George Fenn. So actually, Sabas recruited me 15 years ago to Brunel. So our centre is actually called the Wolfson Centre for Sustainable Materials Development and Processing. Now, of course, the Wolfson Centre originally was set up in 1987 by Professor Mike Bevis. So we're building on that long track record from the past around polymer processing, but then having expanded a lot from there. So Lorna Anguilana will be helping a lot with the centre, making it a big success. So the two of us will be very active in promoting the centre. So I just wanted to focus on a few key points about what we want to achieve and how we want to support people that are members of our centre. So we have a strong focus on the chemistry and the physical sciences, the material science, and really the understanding of what's going on in the applications that we're particularly interested in. So when you look at all the centres as an overall, there's some overlap certainly between the centres, but I think we are slightly different in the fact that we are really interested to support our membership to address the challenges that are seen by making of materials, and of course strengthening our capability to make really good materials at good quality and have a good broad capability to meet all the challenges that come along. So so that's how we will support ourselves a lot, I think, and improve what we have. And what we have is already extremely useful to us, very valuable, and we have quite unique setup. Just at the top of the screen on the right, we have a bit of our polymer processing, for instance, where we have exceptionally useful polymer processing capability that can be turned to a lot of different applications. But we also have some really high-tech vacuum deposition, which gives us a lot of other capabilities. They're not all shown here, of course. So we have a lot of good manufacturing capability, lots of chemistry expertise, lots of making of materials. But of course, to be really successful, we want to be broadly applicable. A number of people today have already mentioned social sciences. And for me, when I was looking at the membership and how we could be successful, you know, bringing in the social science aspects to our proposals and our research to really see that impact happen, that was really important. So we've included social science, so people from Splash, the new group with Leslie Henderson, And we were successful recently in winning a large grant, and also yesterday, Lorna was also successful with Leslie on winning another grant. So that's already starting to happen, and you know, I think that will help our impact. And we know we have to have impact and actually commercial success to see our research actually be taken forwards. So that's another really important aspect that I'm really pleased is already starting to happen for us. Applications wise, I just wanted to cover, because we're quite broad in the areas that we cover, and looking at what we do, a lot of it covers food or plant growth in many ways. So how we would address the use of materials, putting our materials into particular applications to then actually get the plant growth, where we'd often partner externally with well-known plant development areas and people and companies mostly. So we see here things like the cloches and the polytunnel technology that we've developed, the vertical farming applications, and we're looking at plants that grow well or not so well. And these are just applications of how we've made materials and chemistry and incorporated them into polymers. On the second on the right down, we see a big recycling plant for recycling post-consumer plastic waste. So I should say this afternoon at soon after 2 o'clock, we have a seminar from one of our visiting professors, Professor Edward Cozier, who will be coming along to talk about the Next Loop consortium that we're founding members of. We're talking about the big issues in plastics at the moment. The other areas we cover are things like energy. So we're going to be looking at structure materials, solar, batteries, absorbent materials, so porous materials and materials engineering, so that we can see that the structure and the shape, you know, just the shape of a particle, whether it's flat or circular, how that influences the end properties. And of course, everything bringing together with all the analytical expertise that we have. We're big users of ETC, I would say. We're not exclusive users by any means, but many of the ETC members are members of us because they have similar research interests of their own. So I guess that's all I want to say at the moment. So yeah, please come along later. Please drop in at least if you can for the seminar with Ed Cozier and see what's going on. So thanks very much.
Good afternoon. I'm John Cosmas, and I'm co-director of the Intelligent Digital Economy and Society Research Centre. The vision of this centre is to research into intelligent digital economy and society using AI, data analytics, 6G mobile communications, media, human-machine interaction, digital games, augmented and virtual reality, digital twins, Internet of Things, cybersecurity, data and information fusion, and so on, providing legal and regulated compliance solutions and all aspects of government technology to promote social unity and enhance economic impact. There are 19 members and one associated member from a number of long-existing research groups across 3 departments in the College of Engineering, Design and Physical Sciences. That is Electrical and Electronic Engineering, Computer Science, and the Department of Design, with accompanying industrial advisory committees. It has a large population of research students. We achieve this by promoting research in innovative data technologies in all aspects of data value chain, such as the acquisition, creation through the user's consumption, as well as the data processing infrastructure, e.g. reconfigurable, parallel computing, cloud computing, etc. And techniques for providing intelligence using artificial intelligence on the multi-access edge computing cloud to analyze large and complex data sets, which can mobilize its use in systems and society. It also includes innovative mobile and fixed network technologies in not only the mature media communications industries, but also in the emerging Internet of Things industries that promotes the development of intelligent autonomous systems for aerospace, automobile, biomedical, civil, design, healthcare, mechanical, manufacturing, computer, communication, engineering, vertical industries. It also includes innovative enhancement and uses of augmented, virtual and enhanced reality systems, so that not only can they be used for obtaining larger and more appealing digital games and more realistic digital 3D art creations, but also they can be applied in the aerospace, automotive, biomedical, civil design, and so on, in vertical industries, in areas of remote working, supervision, and training. Innovative enhancements and uses of tactile internet, which uses an enhanced internet network featuring low latency and extremely short transmit time and high availability, high reliability, and higher levels of security. This technology rests on the cloud computing proximity and the virtual and augmented reality for sensory and haptic interactive controls. It is believed to add a new dimension to human-machine interaction by delivering low enough latencies to enable real-time interaction of systems, which is critical in an autonomous society of the future. We're also including innovative computational technologies into the enhancement of trust, identity, privacy, and security measures for enhancing social informatics of the interaction between people and technology, organizational informatics of the interaction between organizations and technology to analyze and make sense of interactions in the digital world and to dynamically adapt to analyze and to dynamically adapt to changes in that world. We also finally involved in innovative secure digital economy technologies, which provides effective cybersecurity, which is a cornerstone of a strong and safe digital economy. The focus of this research is for the protection of digital assets and services and citizens' personal data. The Centre is closely linked with long existing research group labs, such as the Wireless Network and Communications Lab, which is linked with the Brunel Robotics Engineering Lab, the Cybersecurity Lab, the Green Screen Studio Lab, and the now new to be created Indoor 5G Networks Lab. The Centre members have had success in a large amount of success in the past. For example, with myself having obtained up to 13 EU research projects since the year 2000. And we have recently experienced success with the successful completion of the Internet of Radio Light project, which was just completed last November, and the awarding of a new project on broadband communications and IoT in factories and warehouses, titled 6G Brains. This afternoon there'll be, I'm announcing there will be a breakout session on intelligent digital sensors and actuators. We intend to host a brainstorming session for ideas on new projects. Thank you so much.
Okay, good morning. I am Maria Colocotroni. I'm a professor in the Department of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering in the College of Engineering, Design and Physical Science, and also the Institute of Energy Futures. I'm here to present, as director, the Resource Efficient Future Cities Research Center, which has 18 members from CDEPS and CBAS and a number of associated research fellows and doctoral students. Our activities, as it says in the slide, are within the resource efficiency and resilience and sustainable infrastructure priority area, which fits to Brunel Sustainability Strategic Challenge area and the government's Clean Growth Grand Challenge. Now, our goal is to carry out energy and sustainability research in the built environment and urban infrastructure. And our objectives are to address national and international sustainability-related societal challenges in the built environment for cities and communities, to carry out interdisciplinary research focusing on buildings and infrastructure, and to develop the research community of expertise in engineering, technologies, and social science research for the built environment specifically. The diagram on the slide outlines our main research areas, which is urban energy use, technologies, mitigation, and resilience, sustainable advanced materials, integrating sustainable materials for whole building and community research, energy efficiency in buildings, including social aspects and economics, living with environmental change, resilience, energy security, and climate adaptation, and whole system integration, multi-scale infrastructure planning for community districts and cities. These 4 areas link directly to the development of the center's activities to study the energy performance of future cities, and we are striving to contribute to future net zero cities, energy cities. And activities will focus on the sector of cities that impact the environment, and these are buildings, choice of materials and construction methods, as well as energy efficiency, power, decarbonization of heating and reduction of cooling needs, transport in terms of public health, indoor air quality and thermal comfort, people, how they accept, adapt and use low energy buildings, technologies and alternative methods of transport. And we will also aim to investigate building design post-COVID-19 and the impact on energy efficiency and indoor-outdoor environmental quality. Our strengths are that we have a good portfolio of EU projects, UKRI projects, and some Innovate UK grants. And we have existing very good links with external partners in projects and proposals, for example, within the UK and also internationally with industry, professional organization and universities outside the UK. Our future development is somehow depicted in the diagram at the bottom of the slide that shows the design performance gap, which is becoming an important focus for energy research. How people choose to use space and energy is one of the major challenges for modeling buildings, transport, and the urban environment. So while maintaining our current activities, we also aim to develop models and strategies suitable for studying the energy performance of future cities and valuing energy in buildings. And this will be informed by engineering, social science, data analysis methodologies. So there are quite a lot of opportunities for others to join our center, for example, ICT, water, planning, transport, and policy. So if you are interested, please join this afternoon meeting where we will discuss how our campus can give us opportunities and support for research proposals and also what these proposals might be. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, and everyone. And I'm delighted to hear people say they're looking for social scientists because, well, here we are in the Centre for Health and Wellbeing across the life course. I'm Louise Mansfield, and I'm a co-director of the centre with Professor Christina Victor, who I know is here somewhere in this list and may chip in. And we're directing the centre with the twin aim of developing our UK strategy for understanding health and wellbeing across the life course and our global strategy for doing that. The core aim of the centre is to be a cross-university, multi and interdisciplinary grouping, really bringing together some of what we think are Brunel's most active and inventive social and health science researchers to improve understanding of social processes, underpinning health and well-being. And I can already start to see the relevance in some of the commentaries that people have made in areas that we may not yet have had the opportunity to develop ideas within. And that's really great to hear about. I'd say that the centre is distinguished by its concern with diverse populations, life course issues, political, economic and sociocultural context. And we draw on a range of disciplinary foundations and interdisciplinary approaches in doing that. The centre is not entirely new. It certainly cements the expertise and existing excellence that's been developed through some of the core previous themes, including welfare, health and well-being, ageing, design, education and training, economics and global public health. And we've got a central remit in our work to address inequalities in health and well-being in the UK and internationally. I think the third aspect of the work that we really want to drive forward now is in the development of innovative methodologies for research and knowledge production. We're particularly interested in really building our expertise around secondary data analysis, and all of our work is driven towards evidence-based decision making and support for policymakers, researchers and wider stakeholders. And we have a long established track record of working across a range of diverse stakeholder groups in the health and wellbeing agenda. So I guess the three core objectives from those broad aims that are on the slide here is that we are focused on leading innovation in open research, education and training, and knowledge exchange for the health and wellbeing benefit of societies in the UK and globally, which, as many of you know, will be driving at the challenge-led area of health that Rebecca was talking about at the beginning. Developing interdisciplinary approaches, both theoretically and methodologically, for our understandings of health and wellbeing, and increasing the quality and relevance of our academic and non-academic partnerships, so cross-sector work across policy, decision makers, academics and scholars, and public engagement with public and citizen groups. I think we have, our established track record is reflected in the fact that we now have 14 founding members for this group. And they represent a range of, I guess, a range of sub-disciplines that are going to drive our excellence. Some of these are already in existence and have a strong track record. So in health economics, in ageing, in rehabilitation and disability, in design, in media and marketing, in sport, health and wellbeing, and in education and training. But in developing these areas, we have new research groups focusing on sedentary behaviour and also on health behaviour change. I mean, that's all I wanted to say as a broad introduction. This afternoon at 2 o'clock, we will have a more open discussion about how we go about achieving our aims and objectives, and it'd be delightful to see some of you there. Thank you.
I'm very excited to be able to announce a new research centre, Smart Technology Advancements for Health and Rehabilitation. Dr. Marco De Vere and I have been supported by our adjunct directors, Professor Joy Conway and Professor Simon Taylor, and we're pleased to be able to share with you our ambitions and efforts for this new research centre. The seeds for the STAR Centre were sown almost exactly a year ago in those bygone days when we were able to meet face to face, when Marco and I hosted a meeting in the Mary Seacole building with Professor Abdul Sadka, Kate Hone, along with other members of the College of Engineering, Design and Physical Science, including Nadine Aberman and Andra Ivanescu and Ivan Guinera. We recognized we had many common interests exploring challenges for health, well-being and rehabilitation from different perspectives. The concept for the STAR Centre was born out of the inspiration of Marco De Vere, who recognized the need to link fundamental human and health sciences with engineering and design. So our academic network, which will reveal some names of who we are, include an interdisciplinary group of researchers across lab-based, behavioral, and clinical expertise, with experts in engineering, technology, and design. So for innovation development, we aim to utilize and pioneer new technologies to apply important discoveries made in the fundamental research domains to the needs of health, medicine, and rehabilitation. So some examples we might use for this. There's the need to understand engagement in order to develop immersive virtual reality systems that improve the human-computer interfacing. We can also take, for example, the need to integrate developments in understanding of hand function with robotics, in which we see the great dexterity and complexity of human hand sensory and motor function contrast to the poor dexterity of current hand robotics. Thus, by working together, we aim to enable biology-inspired engineering for robotics and smart technologies. And importantly, we can also consider the role of integrating and utilizing artificial intelligence and machine learning, which can be powerful mechanisms to understanding human disease and disability to support diagnostics and treatments. So we are very excited, therefore, to be working with Tatiana Kalganova and Ashley Braganza with Simon Taylor, for a new lab space, AI Health, which will be a fantastic platform to design and test the new technology and add their applications for health and rehabilitation. We hope that this will be brought about through collaborations with industry and patient-public involvement for knowledge exchange and translation to ensure that activities and outputs are relevant and meaningful to the challenges that communities face. So in some respects, we link across the all of the new research centers and existing researchers in a horizontal way, trying to utilize the experience and expertise across the university. And in particular, we'd like you to come along to our afternoon session. We are hosting a Fame Club where we wish to introduce our 15 founding members and showcase the work we're currently doing and some of our innovative collaborations and ideas we hope to exploit over the next few years. Thank you for this opportunity.
Good afternoon, and it's lovely to see everyone virtually this afternoon. My name is Ashley Braganza, and I'm here representing the Centre for AI, Social and Digital Innovation, and Tatiana, who I think is also in the audience, as are many of the members, and I are co-directors of the centre. I'm not going to read every word on the slide, but I think what I'm hoping you will pick up as you look through the words is what we're looking to do is take these emerging technologies, these emerging AI technologies, and to understand them at a theoretical and applied level, and how they kind of work through society. And what we're really interested in is understanding the effects at 3 levels: at a whole society or at a societal level, at an industry or an organizational level, and at an individual or a household level. Because our view is that these technologies have different effects at different levels, and we almost need to pull them apart in order to kind of get our heads around them and to understand how these technologies are going to influence us at every level. In order to do this, we have already attracted and pulled together about 25 core members who have come from all three colleges, because we worked out very early on that no one discipline, no one expertise could kind of address the meaningful questions that we want to raise. So we have colleagues from engineering, health, law, business, the humanities. I mean, a list over here, life sciences, health sciences, education. We have just people from all over the three colleges who've already joined to identify and explore themes where we want to create thought leadership and also practice leadership. Some of the themes that we've already started to work on and will continue to build include sustainability, health, robotics, access and inclusion, regulation, ethics, looking at how we can take some of these topics and truly add value in them. As a centre, our members have had significant success. I think just about everyone here will have heard of Tatiana's fantastic project with Caterpillar, and that's one instance, but a very, very big instance of some of the research success that all the members have had in terms of research funding and in publications. And what we're now looking to do is bring this expertise together in order to make use of what we have and develop ideas even further. Dido mentioned the AI lab, and absolutely we are really looking forward to not just having the equipment, but also getting a physical space where we can bring people together to think about and then not just come up with ideas, but to take those ideas, to embed them in technology, put prototypes together, and actually test this technology, see what the effects are, and taking it one step further with the notion of almost creating ecosystems with a view to then bringing in entrepreneurs who can take these ideas and develop them further. Look to bring in venture capitalists, people who might fund some of these ideas. So really to create an ecosystem that brings people from not just within Brunel, but more widely outside of Brunel together into this centre. We've also are very keen to ensure that whatever research we're doing feeds into teaching. So there are two MSc programs that are running, and one is looking at AI strategy. So this brings in all of the social sciences and understanding that from that perspective. But also colleagues in computer science have an MSc in AI, which is looking at coding and all the aspects of how you generate the technology and the applications in the first place. So we're genuinely trying to bring together the research and the teaching in one space. We have numerous doctoral students spread across the various disciplines, and I think it's time to go on. Do join us at 2. We will have our members showcasing the areas that they're working on, and we look forward to welcoming you to the centre at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andreas Kortenkamp. I'm the director of the new Centre for Pollution Research and Policy. You may know that since industrial developments since the last World War, there has been a widely spread blanket of chemical pollution of the environment and also of us humans. Today, all of us carry within us a very large number of chemical substances, many of them hazardous. So how do I advance this? No. So we in our new center, we're focusing on three major areas to address this problem. First of all, predictive approaches in toxicology, focusing on predicting the effect of combinations of chemical exposures, and also how we can make advances to move away from animal testing in toxicity. The second focus is on developing endocrine disruptor test methods. That's a great gap. Endocrine disrupting chemicals are substances that interfere with our hormone systems and lead to health disorders, including declines in IQ, male reproductive health, female reproductive health, and various others. And finally, our focus is on evidence synthesis, scientific evidence synthesis to support better decision-making in policy. So in particular, our research on mixtures exposes major flaws by which currently hazardous chemicals are regulated. You may know that this is done by setting maximum exposure limits, but chemical by chemical. This the Italians may call a salami slicing. This is the salami tactic. You compartmentalize the problem and focus on aspects of it, and then falsely, erroneously think that the issue is manageable. In endocrine disruptor research, there are major deficiencies exposed in the current regulatory system. We are lacking efficient test system that can lead to better protection of our health from these chemicals. So in our new center, we are addressing all these aspects. We are extremely successful in attracting funds from the European Commission, from the European Union. We currently have 5 EU projects running, all addressing these aspects. We're very keen on interdisciplinary research. Our interests very much lap into the policy arena. What drives us is to improve the regulatory system so we achieve better health protection, and that is fairly and squarely at the interface between science and policy. What are our immediate ideas and activities? First of all, we want to increase the membership of our new center. We currently have 8 founding members. We're interested in expanding the membership, and I already see obvious collaborations with the new Center for Health and Well-being, for example. Our mission is also to deepen involvement with other areas in Brunel, in particular with teaching. We want to set up a stream whereby we educate the future decision makers in pollution science, and then want to educate them further with doctoral training programs and other activities. So I'll stop here and hand over to the presentations of the research institutes. Thank you very much for your attention. And this afternoon we have at 2 o'clock our inaugural meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andreas. So my name is Hamid Bahai, and I'm director of the Institute of Materials and Manufacturing. The Institute, you probably know, has been in existence for over 7 years now, since in fact 2013 it was established. And I have been in that role for just over 2 years. I took over from my predecessor, Professor Louise Robel. The vision of the Institute has been to improve the performance of materials and structures, including the design and manufacturing integrity and use through a combined theoretical and practical approach. And our new strategy is to try and move our activities so that we are more in tune with our current defined strategic challenge areas. And these are mainly improving sustainability, design, integrity, and performance of manufacturing processes and products, developing novel materials, and pioneering Industry 4.0 for socio-economic and environmental benefits. The Institute has been, in fact, very successful in all its areas of activities. You probably know that previously it was operating under 5 different themes. And if you look at the track record of the research activities of the members of the Institute over the past few years, it has been, it's had a very impressive performance by, in fact, every measure. So if you for example, consider the income generated by the members of the Institute over the past few years, it's always been on the increase, almost year on year. But in particular, noticeably last year, we had a significant step increase in generation of grant incomes and so on. And I think the same would apply in other measures. If you, for example, consider the output, in particular within the recent REF, you will find that the record has been very impressive. So thanks to all the members of the previous themes, and indeed all the members of the institutes who have been very active in the research work. If I was to sort of outline the current strengths that exist within the institute, and I'm sure equal strengths exist elsewhere within the university in a wider context, but within this institute in particular, I would highlight, first of all, materials, and particularly material processing and characterization. So if we think about the activities of BCOST and put that together with the research endeavors of Wolfson Center and some of the members of ETC, all of these activities put together really can be considered as a very formidable research entity, which has been extremely successful over the years, and because itself, I mean, its activities and its achievements goes without saying. But materials has historically always been one of the greatest strengths at Brunel. And I think we have also similar strengths in the areas of structural integrity, and in particular computational mechanics and predictive modeling. The difference, however, is that in the materials section, we also can match our expertise of the colleagues involved in those activities with the infrastructure that we have in these areas. I mean, again, going back to the example of BCOS, it's one of the greatest centers in Europe, if not in the world, in liquid metal formation and casting activities. But in the structural integrity, our infrastructure is perhaps not at a similar level. But the good news is that we're working towards the aim of building up our facilities in that area as well, with the aim of becoming a center of excellence in that particular area. With computational mechanics, we don't necessarily need all those physical equipments. We mainly rely on computational work. But in terms of expertise and the number of people across various departments who are active in doing really world-leading research in that particular area, we are comparable to any national institution who is considered to be sort of pioneering in that area. And even within the international context, if you take the the work of some of the colleagues within the May department, mathematics department, civil engineering, and so on. We are considered as sort of one of the world leading groups in that area. So that's something that we have to cherish. And also this is an area where by nature it is interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary. So it can be used in a lot of activities, for example, in chemical engineering, in civil engineering, in design, and so on. The areas that I would consider that we have to develop further, and we have certainly potentials, are, first of all, smart manufacturing. We used to be actually one of the leaders in manufacturing many years ago, but things have moved on, and we need to sort of build up our infrastructure in that area, both in terms of facilities and also building up our expertise. Same applies to aerospace, research in aerospace engineering. We have some excellent colleagues working in that area, but I think that needs to be matched up with building up our infrastructure. And the good news again is that we have begun to move in that direction, and hopefully in a couple of years' time we will have a much more sizable aerospace lab than what we have currently. So in terms of the Institute's alignment, obviously the main goal is to try and promote multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary research across all the departments and indeed all the colleges in the university. But the centers that currently match quite naturally with the Institute are, first of all, the two top ones, structures and materials under extreme conditions, the activities of which my colleague James outlined earlier, and also Wolfson Center for Sustainable Materials, which was presented also earlier today. So both these centers actually line up quite naturally to the activities and the aims of the objectives of the Institute. But there are other centers that can easily fit into the activities and the objectives of the center. I've just given a couple of examples here. So flood risk and resilience, considering some of the expertise that exists in fluid dynamics, for example, in modeling and so on. Energy efficient and sustainable technology. Again, we have lots of capabilities in the Institute that relate to the activities of this particular center. The last center that you can't see, unfortunately, is fallen out of this particular slide. Doesn't actually exist at the moment, but this is what we are aiming to set up in near future. And that is really the center which is quite clearly missing at the moment. And that's a smart manufacturing. I'm just calling it that as a sort of temporary name, if you like. And hopefully we're in the process of setting up this new center as well to meet the objectives of the Institute. And I think I should stop here, and thank you for listening to me.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm sorry if I will be looking at one screen and talking through another. I've got two screens on me here, one for receiving, one for sending, if you like. I'm Abdul Satka, and I'm the director of the newly launched Institute of Digital Futures. Some of you, I could see from the names, were present in the official launch event to the Institute last November. So you will have established a view of what the scope and the focus of the Institute is, but to reiterate for the sake of today's event, the purpose of the Institute of Digital Futures is to help us deliver on the digital strategic challenge area of our strategy 2030. In particular, building on the existing recognition of the digital brand, the Brunel digital brand, which has growing external recognition. So the priority challenges, that's the challenge areas that have been defined for the digital strategic challenge area, very much builds on Brunel's strength and track record in this area of research. You could see them on to the left of the slide there. There are 6 of them. So they build on the 2 grand challenges of the industrial strategy, namely AI, data, but also technologies around future mobility. And then autonomous systems and robotics, but also smart technologies within the context of quality. Now, with the centers that have already been proposed and defined today, and of course launched today, there will be 4 in particular that would be mostly and primarily aligned with the IDF Institute. You can see them in the diagram to the right there. I could name 3 of them and then tell you a little bit about the 4th. So Center for AI, Social and Digital Innovations would be one. That's Ashley, Tatiana and their team. And then the Ideas Research Center, that's the Intelligent Digital Economy and Society with John, Panos and Hamed. But also the Smart Technologies Advancements for Health and Rehabilitation with Dido and Maiko. Now the 4th one is actually a theme that used to exist in the antecedent Brunel Digital Science and Technology Hub. And I'm hoping that perhaps this will evolve into a digital manufacturing research center, as Ham explained, perhaps in the future call for research centers. But that is a very important area, and of course it's very much aligned with our strength in digital technologies. So these 4 research centers will be primarily aligned with the Institute, with the IDF, and my role will be to facilitate and promote interdisciplinary research activities across the boundaries of centers, but also departmental groups, particularly around challenge areas which are inherently interdisciplinary. So addressing it within a center or within a group might be a little bit difficult, and this is where perhaps Institute could jump in to facilitate and promote interdisciplinary initiatives across the board. Now, some of the tools and instruments I will be using myself to promote and facilitate interdisciplinary research activities will be interdisciplinary projects at doctoral level, doctoral research projects, one of which has already started in the area of digital health with our colleagues in clinical sciences, combining technologists and clinical sciences in a supervisory team. Another one between the manufacturing area and digital has already gone into the public domain on an advert, and hopefully we'll have another interdisciplinary research, doctoral research project starting soon in the area of digital manufacturing. So this is the type of things that we'll be doing in one vehicle, one instrument. Another one will be holding, of course, events which are very much focused on collaborative proposals. So themes, interdisciplinary themes will be identified, and then a call for invitations to sandpit events will be launched with the purpose of bringing expertise across the board together with view of generating interdisciplinary grant applications. So details of that will be published on due course. But this is the sort of instrument as well I and my colleagues in other institutes will be following in order to facilitate and promote interdisciplinary initiatives. Now, one thing that is of particular importance to the IDF will be the establishment of innovation partnership. This started when the antecedent digital hub existed, similar to the partnership we have forged with O2 Telefonica around the open innovation model. So it's not directly related to research, but it is an innovation model in the sense that any technology which has come to fruition and which is ready for industrialization, O2 will take particular stake in bringing it to the market and will offer us channels, if you like, to bring it to the public domain, either to industry or to the public sector. Also, design factories will be another instrument that I myself will take particular stake in. We've got our colleagues in the Co-Innovate team, Ian Ferris and team, who will also work with me on setting up design factories within the digital scope, which combines researchers and students from Brunel with research engineers from industry on projects which address a particular industrial challenge. So the projects will be very much industry defined, and teams from both sides will be working together to address these challenge projects. Last but not least, the IDF takes particular stake not just in research and innovation, but also in training and upskilling programs within the digital sphere. So an effort started a level 7 degree apprenticeship program with O2. It has been victimized by COVID, so hopefully delayed and not eliminated. But this already happens, and we got accreditation for it from the Tech Partnership degree. So initiatives like that, aiming to further strengthen our partnership with the business sector, around research, innovation, but also training and upskilling, will be of paramount importance to the IDF. And level 6 top-up programs, we've already started with the EEE department on setting up a new level 6 top-up program within the context of the West London Institute of Technology, of which Brunel is a partner. So hopefully more of those initiatives will follow, but we're quite keen on recruiting new students through different channels and entry routes in the future in order to enhance the Brunel digital brand, which is one primary focus of this institute. I will be looking forward to the afternoon. Some research centers will have sandpit or brainstorming sessions, let's call them. So I will be particularly interested in attending the sessions of those centers aligned with the institute. So looking forward to that. Thank you very much.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Savastasu. I'm now presenting the Institute of Energy Futures that I have been director of since 2014. Of course, the remit of the Institute when it was established, it was slightly different from the remit now. Now we are addressing specific university research challenges. The mission of the Institute is to undertake interdisciplinary research to address national and global challenges in energy demand reduction and decarbonization. And specifically, as indicated by Rebecca this morning, we address the sustainability area, and that involves clean, sustainable growth and circular economies. Now, we have been fortunate in that within the Institute, in its previous life, we had a number of themes related to energy research. And all those themes have now become university centers. So we'll continue our activities and collaboration. And we have heard from those centers this morning, from Hua on advanced power train and fuels, on from Tassos on energy efficient and sustainable technologies, from Gary on the Brunel Interdisciplinary Power Systems Research Center, from Maria on resource efficient future cities, and from myself on sustainable energy use in food chains. Of course, the research we do and we want to do in the future is also related to a number of other centers and groups, and we hope to expand collaboration with those. For example, materials manufacturing and processing. And we have heard again this morning about their interests and ideas, and of course those match very well with some of our interests and ideas. Also, a number of synergies with the activities on AI, digital economy and society, pollution control, etc. So our priorities in the future really is to expand those activities and collaborations. Of course, the main focus of the activities of the Institute are decarbonization, whilst improving economic development is in other words, how do we achieve the targets of zero emissions by 2050, whilst at the same time increasing productivity. So that is the big challenge that the UK government faces, and that is a big challenge that a number of research institutes and centers are trying to address, including ours. And we can group our activities in two areas. The first area is end-use energy demand reduction, and that covers transport and mobility, built environment, industry, and agriculture and food. And we have already a number of activities in those areas, but of course we have to accelerate our outputs and impacts, and also address any gaps that exist in our portfolio. I mean, the other area that also Gary this morning talked quite a bit about is power generation and distribution, and the use of renewable energy sources really introduces a number of challenges. And the buzzwords these days are flexibility, responsiveness, and resilience. And some of these buzzwords really originated with COVID. So in effect, how do we make our power generation and distribution system more flexible? How we make it responsive and resilient to shocks? And our activities there is on electrification. In other words, we have to replace fossil fuels, gas for space and industrial heating processes with other energy vectors that are decarbonized. And electricity is one. Of course, that imposes a lot of stresses on the electricity generation system. So therefore, we have to be looking at distributed generation systems where we reduce the losses, we take advantage of other energy sources, such as energy recovery or heat recovery from industrial processes. We take advantage of bioenergy, of course, solar energy, and hydrogen is an emerging energy vector that it has been sort of in the background for a number of years, but now with changes in the government policies and priorities is coming to the fore. So therefore, really the question is how do we capitalize on that? We have been successful very recently in attracting sizable funding in the last few months, both from EPSRC. We have sort of 2 new projects starting there, and also from the EU. And the university has also allocated quite a bit of funding, as Hua mentioned this morning, to expand our infrastructure into hydrogen research. Other areas are storage, both thermal, electrical, and hydrogen storage, and how to integrate those storage systems with end-use energy demand systems and balance the intermittent supply of energy with demand. An emerging also research activity and interest is in nuclear power stations, particularly smaller power stations, and the UK government has quite a lot of ambition in that area to become a leader in the field and export technology to other countries. And some of our activities can fit into that, particularly activities in terms of high temperature heat to power systems that we are working on, and also advanced heat exchanger technologies and heat recovery technologies, as well as energy storage systems. So quite a lot of areas really that we can work together across the institute to address. Of course, we are not going to make a lot of sort of improve significantly our reputation into energy research if we don't consider the whole spectrum really of utilization of energy as well. And that I think is where we are lacking in the university to a certain extent, because we have been quite inwardly sort of focused in engineering so far. But to achieve our goals in energy demand reduction, then we have to introduce or to consider the areas of human behavior. How does it influence energy demand? Policy measures and policy interventions, environment and health, and how really new technologies impact on that, and how can we address fuel poverty with the introduction of new technologies and existing technologies as well, and also how we engage with the United Nations Development Goals and make our technologies and approaches more economically attractive. So we need to expand our engagement with our human sciences and also social sciences staff across the 3 colleges in Brunel. Priorities also will be to enhance engagement and collaboration, both internally and externally. And one of the instruments we'll be using are summits, where we bring together some early career researchers with more established researchers with reputations in their field, so that we pass on experience, but also use those opportunities to develop new ideas and a wider engagement across the university, and prepare, as Abdul mentioned earlier, projects that can address funding priorities, but also funding opportunities from the Horizon 2020 or Horizon Europe now, and of course UKRI opportunities and industrial opportunities, and there is quite a lot of potential in that area. So we planning some summits over the next 9 months. I'm committed personally to do something in the food area that, of course, related to energy, but also the 2 CDTs that we are engaged in, so that we enhance the engagement of and expand the engagement across the university. And of course, there are a number of other opportunities working with other institutes and the center over the next few months. So thanks very much.
Thank you. When you're V for Victor, you're used to being last, and I'm aware that I stand between you and your lunch. So I'll keep my remarks brief, and I'm very happy to discuss and follow up with colleagues who are interested. So it's a great pleasure for me to be able to introduce myself to you all in my new role as Director of the Institute of Health, Medicine and Environments. And in my remarks, I just want to set out for you the scope of our activities. But before I go on to that, I would just like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to Sue Jobling, who was the Director of the Institute of Environments, Health and Societies. And the new IHME is, if you like, the daughter of that. And I look to be building on the great work that Sue did in setting up that first institute. So this is a great time to be interested in health, and health is an inherently interdisciplinary activity. So the challenge area that the Institute of Health, Medicine and Environments focused on is very much around planetary and human health. And you have to have been hiding in a cave somewhere not to notice that we have a very good example with the current COVID pandemic. But planetary and human health and well-being is a very broad subject. And so the scope of the new institute is really around 2 priority challenge areas, both of which are rather large and offer significant opportunities, I think, for colleagues in almost every department across the university. So the first is around disease prevention and enhancing well-being. And the second is around models of care, how, and I think COVID is providing us with some interesting examples of how we can change the models of healthcare delivery. I do have a second slide if Tom or Sid could put it up for me. And those two sort of overarching themes around disease prevention and models of care really break down into two areas. One of which is around development, implementation and evaluation of interventions and services to promote health and well-being. So this is a very important part of agenda and builds on the strengths that Brunel has in that area. But also the other key area of activity is around looking at the relationships between environments. So the S is very important in environments because we want to look at the biological, the social, the natural and the built environments and how these are interlinked with health and well-being outcomes. And I think a particular area where I look forward to working with colleagues across the institution is around how these outcomes vary across and within populations. I think the COVID pandemic has really brought into stark focus the very different health outcomes and health chances for particular populations, particularly colleagues from Black and ethnic minority groups. And I think that is a particular area where the expertise of colleagues in the college research centres that we've had so nicely introduced for us, where we have considerable potential. I shall stop there. Thank you all very much for your attention. I very much look forward to working with colleagues in our new centres across the university in the next couple of years, and enjoy your lunch. Thank you.
So thank you, Christina. Just before we lose everyone for lunch, I'd just like to take one more minute of your time, primarily to thank everyone who's presented this morning, and of course all of the people who've been more in the background so far today, but will probably be more involved this afternoon in the individual meetings, but all of those people who've supported the presentations today and the activity that they're representing, and also the engagement, and I can feel the excitement coming through in the chat comments, which is really heartening to see and bodes well for the future. And one final comment that I wanted to mention is around the new Brunel public policy activity. It's a new unit which will be launched formally over the spring. It's being led by our founding director, Justin Fisher, and builds on the partnership that we've had in recent months with the government's open innovation team, originally with the Cabinet Office, that many of you will have been involved in. And just briefly, the public policy unit is designed to help use all of our research to help inform policymakers, but also legislators and regulators, and enhance public life by solving problems, help decision makers arrive at better solutions, and support the work of public and third sector organisations nationally, locally and internationally. So really absolutely putting the needs of society at the heart of Brunel's academic activity. So it's very much related to much of the work that we are doing and will continue to do in future. So on that note, I think we'll break for lunch, and we return at 2 o'clock, and there are some instructions about how the breakout rooms will work from 2 o'clock. But if you come back here, then we can support you with going to the right place. So thank you. See you later.